In this video, we're breaking down a big shift in the weather pattern as a major storm system moves out of the country. That storm I'm referencing is right here to the right of me. Severe weather ongoing in the southeastern U.S. and a winter storm ongoing in the northeastern U.S. right now. But what you're not seeing yet and probably not hearing much about is the change that comes in on the backside of this. We're going to talk about some real Arctic cold and the next system we're tracking as it's expected to arrive in the upcoming work week. Wanted to start by giving you a look at what this storm leaves behind, and I'll show you as we record this on Saturday, today's severe weather threat, which impacts much of the southeastern U.S. There is a pretty widespread tornado risk. Of course, if you want more information on that, you can watch my last video, but we're looking ahead here, and as we move into Sunday, you're still going to see the potential for some damaging wind all the way up a good chunk of the East Coast, as far north as Delaware, but the most pertinent threat is going to be in Florida and in southern Georgia, so that's your Sunday there. We also want to get an idea of what the storm's going to do farther north. We can look at some of our model data of snowfall. We are looking at a widespread 6 inches of snow across northern New England here, and it's still a good 3 to 6 in most areas in southern New England. This snowfall, of course, is going to be followed up by some really messy weather in the Northeast, including quite a bit of ice, enough so that freezing rain is a pretty big factor across the hills, and we don't typically see this much ice in the Northeast, so the weekend going to be very messy. But after the weekend, let's talk about some of the changes that come in and some of the risks the weather poses for most of the country. As we move into Monday, one of the things I wanted to highlight is actually the wind, especially in the Northeast. Now, with the ice and snow on the ground, we're going to see some very strong wind with high wind warnings in effect for this part of the country and gusts that may be as high as 60 miles per hour, which is going to take down some branches, cause power outages. Anyone who's up for a school vacation week in northern New England likely to see a lot of those ski lifts grounded. So first, right off the bat, a threat there for the north and east. But the thing is, this is all part of a changing weather pattern that's going to impact the entire United States. What you're seeing here is the Arctic air mass beginning to move back into the country, and where you have those purple colors, those are temperatures, at least in the air mass, that are far colder than average. And we'll take a look at the surface temperatures, which are pretty wild, in a minute here too, so stay tuned for that. But I want to show you the air mass at play here, and what you're seeing here is Monday and Tuesday, this really begins to spread out and sink into the United States. Basically, the Rockies are going to form a wall, and everything east of the Rockies is going to get very cold. This includes the northeastern U.S., most of the Midwest. It's the southeast that's going to try to hold on in southern Texas to some of the milder weather, but even those areas are going to be met by this colder air mass by the middle and later days of the week. Here we are on Thursday and into Friday, and that cold has really settled in across the eastern U.S. But here's where our pattern evolves. You're going to begin to see these milder temperatures return a little bit to the central U.S. while the cold air sits out east. And ultimately, a pattern like this is going to set up as we move into the following weekend and the end of February. And what we're seeing as we close out the month is actually perhaps an early spring if you're on the western half of the United States, basically outside of those blue colors. But if you're in the eastern half, and this does include the south as well, winter is going to hold on out here and keep temperatures cold as we ride out the rest of the month and move into March. But this also means that snow chances are still legitimate across the eastern U.S., as that cold weather will be certainly abundant enough to maintain snowfall. In just a moment, we'll show you exactly how cold it's going to get, but I do want to show you our next major winter storm as well that will be impacting much of the country this week. First things first, you see this guy moving out. That's our storm producing severe weather and winter weather. This is your Monday, and you're seeing actually in these blue lines, they're kind of hard to see, but you can catch that 540 line. You can see that's our cold air mass coming in right here. But what we need to be watching for is when that pattern begins to shift a little bit towards the end of the week, you're going to see this guy begin to develop here as it comes off the Rockies. This is just the start of development on your Tuesday, and what you're seeing is the potential for some more storms in the southeastern U.S., likely not quite as severe as we just saw, but there could be some severe activity right in the Gulf Coast. But more importantly, more snow and ice developing across Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, included even Texas in there as well on Tuesday. This is just the start, like I said, though, and it gains a lot of power as it begins to move eastwards. On Wednesday, we're talking about snow that may be as far south as Nashville, Tennessee, even into portions of North Carolina, where there will be some ice as well. And again, there may be some severe weather right on the Gulf Coast here. But instead of going straight out to sea, it does something interesting. We see this storm begin to turn farther up the coastline as it interacts with a ridge, which is basically a bumper right off the east coast here, forcing it to ride up the coastline. So the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast are both in play for potentially major snowfall. We're talking about amounts that have the potential to be as high as a foot, whether it's realized or not, we do need to keep an eye on, but the potential is certainly there. And as this rides up the coast, it will create some messy weather. Right now, the latest data does have it moving back east as it reaches the northeastern U.S., but there is still a path at this with this storm that may take it through the region, so it's something to watch closely. But the mid-Atlantic does seem like the best candidate for some major winter weather right now. After that's out, we see this high pressure system sit in place, and that's going to bring that really Arctic cold to the east of it, and you're going to see that high pressure system really sit around through much of the week until things get shaken up towards the end of the month. But let's take a look at those temperatures now and talk about how cold you need to plan for this week. I'm going to show you a map of our feels like temperatures as we go through the week. So this is with the wind included, and I'm going to start with Monday morning, where you're seeing feels like temperatures as cold as 40, even down to 50 below in the north central-most portions of the country. But outside of that, anywhere you're seeing these dark purple colors, those are feels like temperatures that are going to be around zero, if not below zero. And to start off the week, that is a lot of the country that's going to be really frigid. As we head into your Tuesday, those feels like temperatures, they dive farther south. You're seeing those feels like temps down to zero into places like Texas and across most of the northeast and central U.S. One of our coldest days will be Wednesday. You have feels like temperatures below zero diving all the way down into Texas, Oklahoma, even into northern Arkansas. Most of the Midwest and Northeast is going to be feeling like they're below zero. The only exceptions to this are going to be areas on the Gulf Coast and out west of the Rockies. Thursday, also a very cold morning. You can see those feels like temperatures, perhaps even colder in spots, down to 20 below zero, all the way as far south as Kansas and Missouri. And really the central U.S. is going to be as cold as it's been at any point this winter. And we had a cold January too. For much of the eastern U.S. and the Midwest as well, even the South, we're talking about very cold feels like temperatures down into the teens perhaps on the Gulf Coast, so sort of a relapse of some of that weather in January. But we do see the cold back off just a little bit as we head into Friday and the weekend. You're seeing it now transition more to the East Coast on the following weekend. This is the 22nd and 23rd, and at this point we're more manageable, but feels like temperatures will still be in the teens across much of the Great Lakes region and the Northeast, and even down into the South. Feels like temps in the 20s will exist, and this will be all the way out to about the West Coast as well. So chilly weather, really Arctic air is coming back, and I don't think you've heard enough about that. So do be prepared for this, even though all the attention is on the storm system ongoing right now. So with that, we're going to wrap up the video, and if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so. If you have any questions, always drop them in the comments. Don't be shy. I love interacting with you guys and chatting with you guys, so whatever you need to hear about or want to ask, I got you. And we'll be keeping a close eye on the cold and, of course, that next potential winter storm, as that'll be our biggest player along with the cold in this upcoming week. So stay tuned for updates, and I'll see you here next time.